Chapter 18! It's only 8 p.m. Do you know what that means? That I'm gonna read Beloved until 10. Whatever, you don't care. So this is chapter 18 of The Death of Me, Ostracism in Everyday Life. So here we go. Individuals who have been rejected reporting feeling more hurt, negative feelings, they're more aggressive, less pro-social. The less pro-social part was really surprising in the live review because so far all I've seen was that they were pro-social. I mean, they were obviously, in the studies, the people ostracized were obviously more mad and aggressive than pro-social, but nonetheless they were pro-social. So they had low levels of needs. The needs that were compromised were, I'm looking here because my triangle's here, were the need for belonging, control, self-esteem, and meaningful existence. So they played this thing called the ball toss game, which is similar to the cyberball game, but except it's like in person, where they just throw the ball around. That was an example of social ostracism. They also included cyber chat rooms as another form of social ostracism. The reactions should be distinguished by the amount of time. The reactions were distinguished by the amount of time that people were ostracized. Specifically, most of the time it's short term ostracism, They use the event contingent method, where basically data collection was triggered by the occurrence of a specific type of event. The event in this case was being ostracized. I'll get into that more during the methods section, but yeah. So there was a reduced state of the feeling of belongingness, self-esteem, control, and meaningful existence, blah, blah. There was 5 motives associated with ostracism, which is not ostracism, which is basically when there was no ostracism occurring. Role prescribed, so like in an elevator, if you don't talk to someone, or if you're in a bus and you sit next to someone and they don't talk to you, it's role prescribed. Defensive, this is mostly for the perpetrator in order to make that they're ostracizing the victim for their benefit. Punitive, the perpetrator is ostracizing the victim in order to terminate a behavior. And oblivious, which is where the victim has no idea they're being ostracized. The 5-factor model of personality was examined, and there was a relationship between neuroticism and the strength of people's reaction to ostracism. So for the method section, there was 40 participants, 14 women, 26 men, 25 years old was the mean age. On the dot, there was no decimal. That was cool. For these participants, they paid them $40 for doing this study, which is a lot of moolah, considering all they had to do was write down times they were ostracized. So there was 736 ostracism episodes recorded, over average of 10.8 days. So what they had to do was describe each episode, date and time included, where they were ostracized and who was ostracized. Was them that was excluded? Was it the other people? It also included how the ostracism was accomplished, whether it was socially, in the presence of others, physical separation, or cyber. So through some sort of like phone, I don't know, some sort of like social media, which is probably the most common one nowadays. Why they thought they were being ostracized, whether it be role prescribed, punitive, defensive, blah, blah. They were asked about how they felt about being ostracized, and they completed the 5-factor inventory. So, results time. Overall, these people felt less self-esteem. They belonged less. They felt less self-esteem, less sense of control, less meaningful existence, less existence that was meaningful, blah, 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 more apologetic and angrier. The reason for ostracism was also reported to be moderately clear, meaning most people knew why they were being ostracized, and most of the time people were ostracized by people of the same equal status. So 1/3 of the ostracism was committed by strangers, another 1/3 by acquaintances, 1/6 by friends. Of those friends, 13% were close friends, 4% were partners, and 5% were relatives. And the situational factor was the reason for being ostracized 46% of the time. The person felt they were responsible for the ostracism 12% of the time. Also, for the situational factor, basically what that means is that they were ostracized because of the current situation that they were in. So, the person being ostracized reacted stronger when they were being ostracized by an intimate friend as opposed to being ostracized by a stranger or an acquaintance. And they also reacted stronger when the reason for the ostracism was more punitive in nature as opposed to role prescribed, where there really wasn't that large of a reaction considering it was almost guaranteed that ostracism was going to occur. There was the lowest sense of belongingness and self-esteem, and there was no significance in gender, which is something I have seen across almost all papers, that there's a significance in gender in levels of emotional manipulation, but specifically for self-esteem, for silent treatment and ostracism, there's no significance in gender. I thought that was cool.